Hello guys, my name is Peace. I am a public transporter. Of course, I am peaceful, but people think I am not. They say I'm troublesome all the time, always fighting. How is that my fault, guys? You gaslight me and expect me to remain peaceful because my name is Peace? Not at all. Since violence is the language people understand, I will gladly give it to them. Just like this particular day, I was in the park waiting patiently for my turn to load passengers when this woman came to me. She asked if it was my turn, and I replied, no. She then asked me to take her home. Okay, ma, that means you're chartering the whole bus then? And she replied, yes. I told her that her money is 5,000 naira, and she pleaded for 4,000, so I accepted and took her home. On getting to her gate, she came down and was going inside without paying me my money or even saying anything to me. For real? I had to call her attention quickly. Ma, it seems you are forgetting something, I said. She replied that she wasn't forgetting anything and that I should come tomorrow to collect my money, claiming she lost her purse in the market. No, guys, do you see exactly what I'm talking about? I was just on my own and she came to me. She knew she wasn't with any money. Wouldn't it be fair enough to have told me ahead that she would be owing me? And now, if I fight her, people will say peace is not peaceful. This woman is just playing with fire. I don't take any nonsense. I had to drag her for my money, or else all hell would break loose this minute. Just then, Joseph, another guy on the street, came to her aid. When asked what was going on, I explained everything to him, but this woman was just looking for sympathy. So Joseph helped pay the money for her and took her inside while I left. I won't blame you. You asked for my trouble and that you shall get, I said as I drove off. A few hours later, I was home, and Yvonne, that woman's daughter, came to confront me, asking why I beat her mother. I didn't beat up your mother. Why would I do that? I said. She began yelling and insulting me. I just told her I didn't want any more problems as I walked away. Before I knew it, she just dragged me back. That triggered my anger, and I gave her a befitting slap to teach her a lesson. See, just a small touch, and she was screaming, calling for help as some guys came to her aid. I denied that I touched her, making them know if I had, she would probably be dead by now. They already know me, that I don't waste time teaching people a lesson, so they helped take her away. Later that day, the chairman, who gave me his bus to drive on hire purchase, came to collect his money. This man is so full of wickedness. We agreed every week I would pay him 15,000 naira, which I did last week, and now it's not even up to a week. He has come for another payment just to frustrate my life. A whole deacon in church, he just finds joy in coming to frustrate me. I told him I don't have any money yet, and he threatened that I return his keys. I didn't have any choice, so I just had to pay him his money so he could let me breathe as he left. The following day, guys, I was set for my daily hustle, but decided to say a short prayer before stepping out. Dear God, today as I'm going out, I want you to blind the eyes of my enemies so they won't see me. I don't want any trouble from any angle today. My village people will not succeed. Amen. I ended the prayer. I took the only cash left with me, just 3,000 naira, so I could get fuel for my bus. This chairman doesn't even have any human sympathy. He just collected the only money I wanted to save so I can buy my own bus. But it's fine. I went to clean my bus, singing and creating my own peaceful atmosphere full of happiness as I drove off. No negative energy today. Clear the road for the boss lady, my friend, I said with so much energy and power as I drove out. Later at the park, I was waiting for the first bus to load before mine when a young man came to me asking for directions. He wanted to know if this is where he could get a bus. Oh yes, this is the park, but it's not my turn yet, I said. He thanked me and was about to enter the other bus when I stopped him and advised him to charter my bus instead. I told him the place he was going to was complicated, and he agreed, offering to pay me 15,000 naira. I was so happy as we entered the bus, and I drove off. On our way, I was admiring him from the front mirror. My joy was the money I would be collecting from this trip with no issues. These are the kind of passengers I need, not Yvonne and her mother, I thought to myself. Later, we got to the place and he alighted. So, my money? I asked. He dipped his hand in his pocket and began saying he was looking for his wallet and phone. I just laughed. What is this guy talking about, bros? Please, when you were entering this bus, I didn't see you with any phone. So, what are you now talking about? I asked, already boiling with anger inside. What provoked me more was when, with pride, he told me to calm down. It's just an ordinary 15K. My phone's worth is even more important than your ordinary 15K. No, just reason this with me, guys. Do you see how people will intentionally come looking for your trouble even when you want to avoid them? Did they send you to me, this guy? I was just confused, and my anger kept getting worse. God, I prayed this morning. I didn't want this kind of customer at all, and now this one just emerged. I will deal with you now. I rushed him and slapped his face, and he collapsed. This is how they pretend. You better get up now and pay me my money. If you like, faint 42 times. That is not my business. I was busy raising my voice until Yvonne and Joseph came, and other people started gathering. They checked him and saw he wasn't breathing. Wait, what? Reality just dawned on me that I had killed someone. I was confused and didn't know what to do. Before I knew what was happening, I saw myself on the ground. They put a tire on me and wanted to burn me right there. I felt my spirit had already left my body because I believed that was the end for me. Then I started hearing, "He is still breathing, he is breathing," repeatedly, and that's how they left me alone and asked that we take him to the hospital immediately. My God, is this how I would have died just like that? Just because I was only fighting for my right? Honestly, with this name, it seems I am living the opposite already. Later, we got to the hospital. Every one of us was waiting for the doctor at the lobby, panicking. My prayer was that this guy should not die. I don't have any money to pay for any bills, I thought to myself. Just then, the nurse came and said the doctor was inside. Quickly, we all rushed to see him. We got to the ward and saw that the man I hit was still unconscious with bandages around his head. "Doctor, please hope he is fine?" And he said, "Yes, but unfortunately, he has a lump on his head from the fall." I was just speechless. Yvonne, my number one enemy who wants to see my downfall, just kept running her mouth in the room. I didn't want to add another problem to this one, so I ignored her. The doctor then said someone would have to take care of him until he is stable and also clear the medical bill. Immediately, Yvonne instigated everyone, and they were all pointing at me to clear the bill because I was the one who put him in his condition. I felt so helpless and regretful. If I had known, I would have just avoided this man. See now, he is the weapon my village people sent to fashion against me, and he succeeded. Where will I get money? Nobody cared to even help. They insisted I look for money and pay the doctor, so I excused myself to go home and get the money. Yvonne thought I wanted to run away and held me back, but the men told her to allow me, stating they know my house. I just pushed Yvonne to one side as I left. I got home, and I couldn't hold back my tears as I cried out to God. God, why me? The money that I have been saving up for a while now to buy me a new bus, so I won't have to deal with the chairman's problems again, is what you want me to use for paying a stranger's medical bills. Someone is even owing me. Is this how my life has reduced to, God? I was so pained and regretful. Then I remembered how I was almost burnt alive if this guy was dead, and I couldn't believe how God saved me. I took my ATM card to go withdraw the money. All my life savings are gone, just like that. The next day, I went to the hospital to check on the young man I hit, but he was still unconscious. I waited in his ward, still crying. Then I heard a voice asking why I was crying. I looked and saw he was awake. Shocked, I quickly ran to call the doctor to come check on him. The doctor came in, and I was so relieved and happy he survived. Then something unexpected happened. He couldn't remember anything, not even his name. I was dumbfounded. He was also shocked at what was going on in his life. He couldn't remember anything at all, not even me, the bus driver. He thought he was dreaming, so he lay back down, believing he would wake up back in reality. But it dawned on him that this was our reality. My God, I am just going from one problem to the next. The doctor then told us that due to the hard fall and hitting his head, he now has amnesia. I was shocked, tense, and confused. How come he knows what amnesia is and speaks English correctly, yet he doesn't remember anything? I was so confused, raising my voice, forcing him to remember me or something, until the doctor calmed me down. I'm finished. Where do I start from now? I had no other option but to bring him to my house. I don't know him or any of his family members. Inside my room, I was so angry and frustrated because of the unnecessary pressure I was under. I didn't even want to be nice at all, as I threw the blanket at him so he could sleep on the floor. He kept insisting that I allow him to sleep on my bed. Guy, you must be joking. You want to sleep on the same bed with me? It seems you don't want to wake up the next morning, I threatened, and he respected himself. Later that night, I saw how he was struggling to sleep on the floor. Was I concerned? Never. I just wanted him to go and leave my life alone. The next day, I brought in a plate of food and 2 sachets of water. I threw one at him, then started sharing the food into 2 out of my own goodwill. I gave it to him, and he refused to accept it, saying it was too small for him. I didn't wait a second as I collected the food and poured it back into mine. Surprisingly, he picked up a spoon and started eating with me, leaving me dumbfounded. This guy is beginning to get on my nerves. Just get well quickly so you can leave my life soon, I thought to myself. Later that day, I was at my hustle, calling in passengers at the park. My bus was almost full and ready to leave when Yvonne, my worst enemy who doesn't like my progress, came and began spoiling the minds of my passengers. She said I carried a passenger and almost killed him. Immediately, they all started leaving one after the other. I was just speechless and felt helpless as Joseph helped drag her away. This witch again? My God will judge you for me? I said to myself as I went back home. I got home and found the elders of the community seated in my compound with this guy living with me. Guys, I don't know his name yet, so I will be referring to him as Guy. I greeted them, and they welcomed me. Then they asked this guy if he had eaten anything since morning. Guys, I didn't give him any food because I didn't have any, so I was winking at him not to embarrass me in the presence of these elders, and he played along. I was so frustrated and tired of everything as I expressed my frustration to the elders. Sirs, please, I am tired. In fact, I'm drowning. I have learned my lesson already. I won't fight again, I told them, but they insisted I created this situation myself and should handle it myself. They told me clearly that anyone I ever fight again in this community will come live with me in my house, and so they bid goodbye and left. I turned to my new roommate and asked why he went to call the elders, but he responded he didn't. They just came to meet him. I didn't say anything again as I opened the bread I bought and gave him 2 slices, then walked away, leaving him to wonder. One cool Monday morning, the chairman came again to collect his money from me. Chairman, please don't start this morning. You are supposed to come collect your money on Friday. Today is Monday. Why are you here? I asked. He began yelling, demanding that I pay him his money or return his keys to him. Chairman, I am broke. Can't you hear me? I replied. He insisted I send money from my bank to him and kept raising his voice, wanting to provoke me. I didn't want that, so I quickly made the transaction to him, and he left. It seems this man doesn't want to respect his old age. If I react now, people won't see the actions that caused my reactions. It's fine. I will overcome you all one day, I said to myself. The next day, I went to the park and noticed the chairman of the park refused to let me load my passengers. So I went to disrupt the merriment they were having. I asked politely why he refused me from loading my bus today, and he started raising his voice, trying to intimidate me. But trust me, guys, you can't intimidate me at all. Anytime I try to act calm, they don't appreciate that. They always want to see the war in me, so I gave it to them. I picked a bottle, smashed it into pieces, and used it to chase them as they all ran away. I was so angry and ready for anything that day. Later in my bus, I saw Yvonne coming, and I went for my revenge. I caught and dealt with her mercilessly for calling me a murderer in front of my passengers. She doesn't even have any strength, but her mouth is sharper than a sharpened sword. I unleashed my anger on her and gave her the beating of her life. I got to my house, and this guy began telling me he was hungry and asked if I bought anything on my way back. I paused, then went to him and asked, "So you remember food, but you can't remember your name?" I was so frustrated that I picked up a bottle, smashed it, and used the piece to confront him. I just wanted him to remember his name, that's all, and he was so terrified. I burst into tears because I didn't know what I was doing anymore, and I went to sit down. Hours later, I was still outside crying and thinking about my life when he came to join me, apologizing for what happened earlier. See, all my life, I have saved up 85,000 naira only, and out of that money, I paid 35,000 naira for your hospital bill. You were here when the chairman kept coming to collect money from me, even when it wasn't time for him to collect it yet. I've been trying so hard to save for a new bus to free myself from this wicked chairman, and now you've come to add to my problems? I asked, crying. He was so touched and then said we could go to the elders so he could explain to them that he wanted to leave. I was surprised and asked if he was serious. He affirmed it. I felt relieved, cleaned my tears, and got up so we could leave. He was thinking we would go there tomorrow, but I persuaded him to go today, so we left. We got there, and the elder unapologetically told him he was not allowed to leave until he could remember who he was and where he was from. Until then, he would remain in my house. I tried to defend myself, but the elder immediately shut me out and warned that if I let him leave, he would have me arrested and put in jail. I was just angry and helpless as we returned home. The following day, I was set to leave for work, about to drive out when my roommate came out and said he would be going with me to work. You say what? Please don't even start. You are not going anywhere, please, I said as I entered my bus to drive out. He immediately entered, insisting he would come with me. He had been home for weeks doing nothing, so he wanted to be useful. If anything happens to you, don't call my name. Do you hear me? I warned him ahead as we drove out. We got to the park, and I was greeting my friend Joseph while my roommate was calling in passengers, and they were all coming in large numbers. He's not useless after all, I thought to myself, but the problem I had with him was that he was using too much English for street hustling. He doesn't know a man has to be rugged for jobs like this. We were set to move, and I asked Joseph to come assist us in pushing the bus so we could move. My guy was still saying we should call the mechanic to come fix it. My God, this guy has a lot to learn, honestly. He's too edge-a-butter for my liking. On our way, he was engaging all my passengers, and they were all happy talking with him. Then a lady got to her bus stop, paid, and alighted. I noticed her money wasn't complete, so I called her back and insisted she pay my balance immediately. She then said she didn't have the balance. Why, God? What kind of customers are coming my way like this? Is it that they love to see me fighting or what? Please just pay me my money so I don't do something stupid to you now, my roommate then asked her to go, and she left. I wanted to go drag her back, but he stopped me. I wanted to transfer my anger to him, and he began shouting that his head hurt. Quickly, I avoided him, letting him know I didn't touch him, and so I went back to driving while he continued calling more passengers. Later that day, we closed from work and returned home. I was so happy because I made plenty of money today. We sat down to count the money with so much excitement. Then he asked if we could get something better to eat this time, and I replied that we would be making hot sweet concoction rice, leaving him disappointed. I had to let him know that concoction rice is actually my Christmas food, so if he sees it now, he should be very happy and grateful. Then he told me what he observed at my workplace. How the passengers will intentionally gaslight me so I can react. He said it's not everything I should respond to with my fists. I was just happy that he also had seen what I go through every day until he told me to do something for him. He asked if someone provokes me, I shouldn't react immediately, but count to 30, leaving me amazed. I was laughing and mocking what he just told me and went inside. The next day, my roommate and I were walking along the road when Yvonne walked past us and started with her troubles. At first, I pretended not to hear her, but she stepped on the lion's tail when she insulted my mother. I got so mad and angry and wanted to deal with her when he held me back, pleading for me not to fight back, but to count to 30. I didn't want to listen and kept pushing to beat up Yvonne. I had to control myself when he reminded me not to make her fall again. Maybe this time she might not survive it. We got home, and I was still angry, but he kept calming me down as we sat down. Then he asked why I was always fighting and if that was how I was before. I just looked at him because I didn't know what to say, but he kept insisting, so I decided to open up. My dad, my mom, and I used to live happily as one big family. My dad really loved my mom, but his family members didn't, and pressured him to take another wife. My dad refused, and that's when the whole problem started. My mother then fell ill and died. My dad changed towards me, telling me I reminded him of my mom, and it brought back so many hurtful memories. So he decided to take another wife, and they had 2 kids together. As if that wasn't enough, everyone started picking on me. At school, home, in the community, everywhere I went, I was being bullied. I endured this for years, waiting and hoping someone would come to save me, but no one cared until one day I stood up for myself. I began to fight just to defend myself, and I noticed people began to avoid me, and the bullying stopped. Later, my dad died, and they took everything away from me. The only thing I got for myself, which I apparently fought to get, was this house. So you see, that's how my lifestyle started. I was so emotional as I wiped my tears. "What did you learn from my story?" I asked him. Because I learned 2 things. The first is, you must save yourself because nobody is coming to save you. The second is, you must fight to keep and protect anything that you want, I said to him. He then apologized for the rough and crazy childhood I had and advised that as an adult now, it's not healthy to live a life of violence. It doesn't end well. I need to do better. I replied, "By counting to 30, you mean?" And he responded, "For a start," leaving me to ponder on his words as he left to get us something to eat. One beautiful day, Chairman came to harass me for his money, even though it wasn't the agreed time. I was pleading with him to give me until Friday to pay him because I was broke, but he refused and threatened to take the keys. I was still begging when my roommate came in, took the key from my hand, and gave it to the chairman. He told Chairman that he was being unreasonable and dishonest. He then threatened that nobody would want to work for Chairman because of his attitude, and that he would call the park chairman to get me a bus from someone more reasonable and honest. Feeling threatened, Chairman returned the keys to me and left, insisting I pay his money by Friday. I was shocked and asked how my roommate did it. When he mentioned the park chairman, I was shocked and scared because that man already hated me and didn't want to see me in the park again. My roommate told me I could correct that by apologizing to him, leaving me amazed. The next day, we both went to the park chairman and tendered our apologies, even kneeling down before him to plead, and he forgave me. I went to Yvonne's house to plead with her mom to forgive me for harassing her that day, and she also forgave me. I went to Joseph's house and apologized to him for slapping him, and we laughed over it. The next day, my roommate had systematically transformed my life just in these few days of listening to him. I no longer fought, and I made peace with everyone I had fought with. We were now on good terms with each other and played games together. Joseph came and demanded to see me, so I excused myself and went to him. He showed me a picture of my roommate he saw on Facebook and Instagram. They'd been looking for him, and I saw he was really a wealthy guy from the picture. His name was Williams Coker. I was shocked and happy at the same time. Immediately, I called my roommate by his name, Williams, and he responded. Then he realized I had just called him Williams. "Wait, so you know your name all this while and you've been pretending, right?" I asked. He responded that he wasn't pretending, but the name Williams sounded familiar to him, leaving me wondering. Joseph then showed him the post he saw online and who posted it. To my amazement, he began to recognize the faces. He mentioned Diola, his friend, and his mother, leaving us all wowed. Then he began to act strange, making us scared, until he remembered everything. He began raising his voice at me for slapping him so hard that day. I was surprised at the sudden healing going on. Williams then asked for a phone to call his mother, and Joseph gave him one. Williams input her phone number to call her. Joseph and I were so happy that he finally remembered everything. We kept trying his mom's number, but she wasn't picking up, maybe because she kept getting false information and had stopped taking calls from unknown numbers. Then he decided to call his maid, Tope, and that went through. He was able to talk to his mother and explain everything to her, including that he had been involved in an accident. They were very happy to finally hear from him. I was so happy and rejoicing that God didn't put me to shame after all. Knowing he's a rich man with domestic servants, I was just so happy, playing with him and reminding him that I took good care of him, so he shouldn't forget that. Later, Williams told us his reason for coming to this community before the accident happened. He was going to see land for a state project. The state government is looking for a location to build a polytechnic, and this community, Odoijesha, is one of the towns they were considering for the project. But the project is not complete yet, as he's yet to see some people at the local hotel, and now this happened. They would have been calling his line, and his fear is that he might lose the opportunity, he said. Joseph assured him that if he went to meet them, they would respond positively, leaving everyone amazed. The next day, Williams's mother, his friend, and the elders all came to my house to take Williams home. After discussing the situation, his mother insisted he return home and then come back later for the project. The elders also agreed, so he had to leave. I was so happy, hugging him, and he made me promise not to ever fight again. I assured him as they left. Days later, I was in the park with Joseph when a very beautiful and luxurious car parked in front of us. I was curious who it was, and Williams came out. I was shocked that he still came back, and I screamed with so much excitement, hugging him. He then said he came to show gratitude for how we treated and took care of him. For that, he brought out a check of 20 million naira and presented it to me. I couldn't hold back my joy as I fell flat to the ground, acting like I fainted. Joseph also joined me as we lay on the floor together. I stood up, collected the check, and kept hugging him. He said I should return the bus to chairman and get myself a brand new bus. I was so happy and overwhelmed with joy, thanking him repeatedly. I was still trying to contain my excitement with Joseph when we heard someone calling in passengers. We turned around and saw it was Williams. He had already removed his suit. I asked what he was doing, and he said, "Let's get back to work," continuing to call in passengers, and they were all coming in. What did you learn from my story, guys? Please leave your thoughts in the comment section. As for me, I now believe every disappointment is indeed a blessing. What I thought was a problem and disadvantage for me turned out to be what transformed my life for good and made me a millionaire. And also, violence isn't always the way. The earlier we learn that, the better for us. Thanks for watching, guys. Please subscribe to this channel for more interesting and latest Nigerian movie updates. See you next time.